I'm live at the Red House with Ian and Tally Butera.
Hello.
Tally's here somewhere, actually right there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thanks for coming over and doing this.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting me. I mean, I've seen the people that you've been inviting on, and I feel privileged to have the same opportunity as someone such as like Richard Emmett. He's a local legend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that episode with Richard.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, not only because you're like really, like everybody in town knows you, like everybody sees you and recognizes you, but one thing I really like about just like following you on fucking social media is like what I perceive of your relationship with music. Mm-hmm. That's what I wanted to ask you about, was what your relationship with music is, like, and what you do it for, and just what it is, like your story with music as far as music's concerned, I guess.
All right. Well, it's a fitting day for it because it's Mother's Day.
It is Mother's Day.
Yeah. I guess so. I started learning to play guitar around the time we actually met. You probably don't even realize this, but you're definitely one of the first people I ever played guitar for. I still remember it very clearly. You were about to play at the garage, and it was before, I think you just got done setting up, and I forgot who was mixing that day, but I showed you the song I learned how to play first was this Irish folk song called Spansel Hill. And but I learned to play this classical arrangement of it because there's no recording of it. I found this classical arrangement on YouTube of this guy named Tony Fagan. It's this like old Irishman, and he's the only recording of this like beautiful classical arrangement of it. And I got the music book from that he like says that he got the arrangement from, and I learned how to play it. And I played it for you. The first half of it. The second half is considerably difficult, and it took me like 4 years to learn how to play it.
Really?
Yeah, because it's very slow and melodic at first, and then it kicks into this like super fast rhythm. And I'm still don't have it down perfect, but I played it for you, and you're like, "Oh, you so pretty good." And then I was like, "I'm just tricking you because this is all I can do." But so I started learning guitar very spotty when I was at the garage because Billy Feathers offered to show me a couple of things, and she let me borrow her Martin 000, and it was super cool, super grateful for her to show me that. And I just started picking up some stuff, and at first that's all it was. And I started I was seeing this girl at the time, and we kind of would play a little bit, but it was it's not like how it is now. It was very mediocre at best. And then what happened was when I was 31, my mom had recovered from stage 3 breast cancer, but I'm not even sure if that's what it was that got it. I was at the garage one night, and my mom called me, and she's like, "My cancer's back." And I went and did that, and about a month and a half later, she died. And it was very difficult for me. Me and my mom had a very complicated relationship. My brother and sister were both much closer with her, but my sister's autistic, and my brother was having difficulties at the time. And so it essentially fell on me to deal with all of it. And I don't have a very tight family, and my extended family are not people I love being around, except for a couple. There's a couple of them I will associate with. Yeah. I don't love being around any of them. And so it was just a terrible time. I'll give you an example. My grandmother showed up and I hadn't seen her in 12 years. And she just wanted to say really awful things the entire time, while my mom was like dying in the other room. So that entire thing really messed me up. And then like after a while, it just, my relationship ended after that too. And it's just like a bunch of stuff. That was an incredibly brutal time for me. A lot of stuff happened. I wouldn't be able to fit it into this, but, it was a lot. And so what ended up happening was I leaned into the guitar. I had just a well of grief. It was a most brutal time for me, and I channeled as much as I could into the guitar, and I am not exaggerating. I probably played for 2 hours a day for like 4 years straight. But the first year, more than that. Like I would play like for 3 or 4 hours a day just because it's all I could do. At first I was playing this like real wonky, I still play it a little bit, but it's almost like a shitty claw hammer, I like to call it. And that was cool. But then one day, I had this like rhythm in my head, and I couldn't play it like that. And that's when I started doing the finger style. And once I started learning how to play a finger style, I loved it so much that like I threw myself completely into it, and I like to do rolls with it. And that's kind of it. For me, the guitar it's something I choose to share with people, but that is not my motivation at all.
Yeah.
I would continue to play if no person ever heard my music again. I have a bunch of songs. They all have lyrics to them. But they're for me. It's not that it's not like I have some kind of weird, like, oh, this is only for me. And this is, I like to share them with people, and there's people I have played for. But it is completely a emotional and therapeutic channel for me. And I was talking to my sister and my stepmom one day, and they're like, Ian, you always look so sad when you're playing. It's because I am. It's, I guess like I'm not some island by doing that. Like everyone plays music because it's a way to channel emotions and stuff. It's just, I know a lot of people want to share it and like have the end goal of playing live for people though. Mm-hmm. And I have zero desire to do that. It's not that I'm afraid to do it. You know me, I have no problem talking to people and like being in front of people at all. I did play that one show at the West Salem Public House. Molly Grace asked me to do like an open mic with it.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I was nervous, but you probably wouldn't be able to tell, but I guess everyone's nervous, when they perform. I know some people who perform all the time that are always nervous, and it's like eats them inside, but they still get up there and do it. Yeah. But yeah, for me, it is the best way to channel this maelstrom that I constantly have inside me. I deal with a lot of emotional difficulties, and I still do to this day. A lot of people don't know, but I'm bipolar, and that was a newer thing that I recently found out. And which makes a lot of sense as to why I would have to find all these things to channel that into. I like to run. I'm a pretty avid runner. My gardening, stuff like that. Yeah. 'cause I have to, it's the only way I could deal with the like emotional roller coaster. And it's, sometimes it works better than others, but, but I do like to share it a little bit on Instagram just to show people what I'm doing. And mostly, I don't know why I still do it. I've only gotten positive feedback, which is probably why. I've only had people that were really encouraging, and occasionally I have people like, oh, I love hearing when you post. Somebody told me one time that they find it to be almost meditative. I didn't say the word right, but anyways, to listen to it. And I've only had one negative feedback about it. And the person, I'm not going to say who it is. We can talk later about it. And actually that person contacted me a year later and apologized.
Really?
Yeah. I was surprised by that too. That I think that they were having a bad time. And they told me that when I looked very arrogant when I posted.
Interesting.
Yeah, they said that I was arrogant and that it looked vain.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I was surprised because I don't know. I mean, I don't think so. I guess this applies to everyone who plays music, but I don't think I'm good. Like, I know that sounds like horse shit, but I don't look at myself and be like, wow.
They're going to love this.
Yeah, they're going to love this. It's a banger.
I hear you.
Yeah. That doesn't happen for me. And I like to share when I come up with something, because I share it because I think that little piece sounds beautiful. But I oftentimes will hear the mistakes in it, and like it's such a conflicting thing, because I hear the mistakes in everything that I do, but no one else does. I'm sure this applies to your music too, especially when you're recording.
Yeah.
And so I like to share it, and I think it's like one of those small things that there are people that really appreciate when you share it. And it doesn't, some people will look at it as, I guess, that like the one person. I assume there's probably other people that think that just don't ever, there's no point in saying it out to me. But the way I think of it is like picking a flower and giving it to someone.
I love that.
Yeah, because like some people do appreciate it and they think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad to be able to share something. Playing guitar has been the best gift I have ever given myself. There is a true wonder in being able to create something and share it with people when you choose to. And I like to cultivate, and there's other things I do that I like to share with people, and it's just that with the guitar, it really does come from like inside you. And it's such a complicated thing for everyone. Once you actually start getting somewhat proficient with the guitar, you kind of pick a lane with it and eventually start developing your own style, I guess. I mean, I didn't mean to fall into how I play now. It wasn't like and this is how I'm going to do it. It just did.
You just, You
Just,
explore a thing.
Yeah, I think if I had to say that there was a reason for it, I have short ass fingers, and so I can't, like, it's really difficult for me to play bar chords.
Yeah.
Because I have really short fingers. And
If you want proof.
And so I like and because of how I learned to play initially with this little hammer-on thing, I started doing a lot of hammer-ons and pull-offs to accentuate my music, and then I like got real good at timing them with when I was doing my rolls, and so now it just like has this like full melody situation going on, and
very
like
percussive and active.
Yeah, but it's like it's rolling, and it just like it's almost throws you into a trance. That people have told me that it like almost throws you into a trance if you just like kind of sit there and listen to it.
Yeah,
because it is. I don't go for like big breakdowns or anything, and I don't actually go through a lot of chord changes either. I like to like pick a chord and really explore it and do things like that.
Yeah.
And so it's, I think it's cool to do that too. But I don't plan anything out with my guitar. I didn't plan out my style. I'll just like fiddle around. It's like Bob Ross. Everything interesting I do with guitar was a happy accident.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've never once planned out a song other than that one that I mentioned earlier with my mom.
Yeah.
And what's funny is I can barely play that song now because I just don't play like how I did. Like, I guess I don't know why I can't. It's too difficult for me now. But it's more that the way I play now is a little bit more complicated and advanced. And so to go back and do that, it hurts my hands.
Yeah.
Like it literally hurts my hands now. Because I think that when I was trying to play that song the first time, it was just, I did it for so long just to do that one thing that it worked then, but I can't do it now. But maybe I'll go back and revisit that song. I love playing it. I played it a lot when I came up with it, because it helped me heal.
Yeah.
I recorded it. The entire reason I did that song was because I always like to do a little something for the anniversary of my mom passing away, and I got Brian to help me record it, and a lot of other people were involved, and I'm thankful for everyone who helped me. But Brian was a real friend about it, and he helped set it up, and it was cool. I recorded that. I sang it. I hate singing in front of people more than anything. I can sing a lot better when I'm not in front of people, but I think,
Yeah. It can be scary.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's another instrument. People
is.
do not understand that about singing. It is not that when you hear someone who sings really well, it's because they put in the fucking effort.
Yeah.
No one just like pops out. I mean, some people are better at it naturally than others, but do you know Dan Brooks?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, he should have him on the show.
I plan to. Actually, I saw him at the public house a few weeks ago, and talked to him and talked to Kevin about that. Kevin, Amy's husband.
Oh, Kevin Beck.
Kevin Beck. I talked to both of them about it.
Dude, Kevin's nasty.
Yeah, that whole crew, they're great.
Yeah, I've played with Dan more than anyone, because Dan and Kevin, they're both classically trained. Dan is a classically trained avant-garde saxophonist, though, and Kevin Beck is a classical guitarist, but they both know all the scales by heart, and so they can just like play with you. Yeah, and it's pretty amazing. But anyways, Dan has the best thing about technical skills. If somebody's like, "Oh, you're just so gifted," no, I'm not gifted. I worked really hard for this. It's like none of this came naturally. I did this, and that's how it feels for singing. You know, it's like I haven't put the effort in. To me, anyone is capable of doing these things. When you see someone doing something cool, you can do it.
Yeah.
Like anyone can do it. It's like my gardening. Growing plants is everyone's gift. Everyone inherited that.
Yeah.
So, but I just have not chosen to sing a lot. So, which is why I don't sing in my videos. Also, I just have really crappy, was it like 57 microphone?
Mm-hmm.
It works for my guitar, but that's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah. But yeah.
Well, yeah. So, man, one thing I can say that I've enjoyed about this podcast so far is the opportunity to like just pay homage to people's stories and kind of look at a person. And I mean, and I've known you for a long time now that I think about it. And I kind of remember from a distance, like observing you kind of go through different parts of the story that you just told.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know, remembering different things. And I do remember times where there was guitars kind of floating around in the garage after hours or before shows or whatever. And anyway, it's just interesting to revisit all that and then to see what you're doing with it now. And, you know, to just acknowledge that story that you've lived like matters and is interesting and like has led to something that people give a shit about, you know? Mm. And what I enjoy so much about what you're doing is the word that you pointed out already, like the meditative thing, the meditative aspect of it. When I watch it, I don't see you and think you look sad. I think you look zoned out and like you're meditating. It's almost like I'm watching you meditate.
Yeah.
And that's part of what I found so interesting about having you come over was like most people I'm going to talk to on this show, what we do is sit around and bitch about not being famous. And we sit around and bitch about not having larger audiences and all this stuff.
Reasonable things to bitch about, I guess.
It's like whatever. But what I love so much about what you do is like you look like somebody who really loves music. And like you, it's something really pure about that. And something I think is like, it reminds me of when I used to love music more, I think, and in such a pure way without being bogged down by these, you know, I should use social media. I should have this many followers and, I can't play a show or whatever. Like all that shit that makes you distracted from the whole reason you're doing it in the first place. Like getting better at a craft and like honing in on a skill. Yeah.
I don't like, I want to be clear. I don't think I have a monopoly on the reason that I do it the way I do, but, I absolutely, like, one of the reasons I don't want to play shows is because I don't want to rob myself of the joy of it and what it does for me. Yeah. Like the second, you know, when you get good at something, people are like, oh, you should find some way to monetize this. Like you should do this. It's like, no, no, I don't need to. This is for me and this is just to enjoy it. And that's how I feel about it. Like, I mean, I am happy when I play guitar, but I'm also sad sometimes, and sometimes I'm neutral, and sometimes I get frustrated, and I just want to let myself float in it. Yeah. I just want to be enveloped. Like, most people are used to seeing me post 15-second Instagram videos. I usually do it once a week now. And just if anyone cares, when you see one of those 15-second videos, it means I've probably been playing for like an hour and a half at that point.
You found the flower.
Yeah, I like usually those videos are 30 minutes long, and I like just find what I think is like a good 15 seconds to share. You know, but like I will record myself playing 30 minutes, but generally I love playing on my back porch. I have a bunch of plants out back, and like my back porch is very serene for me, even though it's in the smack dab in the middle of downtown, downtown Winston-Salem, and you can oftentimes see me out there playing, and so I'll play out there for a long time, and then once I'm, you know, you gotta heat the hands up, and once I'm feeling a little bit better, I'll go inside and like record me playing, and if it's particularly if I'm feeling it that day, that's when I'll post something. I don't have a set day to do it or anything. It's just that sometimes I'll do something. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Let me post it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't normally get feedback from people, so it's not, you know, I'd say, yeah, I don't think I've gotten anyone mentioning anything about my videos in probably like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, it's just not the impetus for why I do it. I don't know. I mean, do you ever like, whenever you're playing, do you ever like hit something, like come up with something new and you're like, man, I immediately want to like just show people or like share this with someone?
Yeah, man. I mean, I like the performance aspect of it. I think that was something I was always drawn to for like the visibility and stuff.
Yeah.
And I like the visibility. And, you know, so often when I create something, it's like, it's the social media component that I find confusing and weird, but making it visible to people is instinctually, it's immediately what I want to do. I just want to share it with people. If I could choose, if I just had a built-in audience of 100 people outside and could walk outside on a stage and play it immediately, that's probably what I would do. But I don't have that option, so social media is what I would have to use sometimes.
I do occasionally get random people at that dog park below mine.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And so I live right beside a dog park in my porch. If anyone who lives downtown would know where I live by describing this. I live over a dog park, and my porch like looks over it. And I will be up there playing, and occasionally and this happens pretty frequently. I'll have like somebody yell up from the dog park, "Oh, that was really nice guitar." So I guess I have a captured audience there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's funny. I've got to be like this like weird hipster Wilson, you know, from like Home Improvement. Yeah.
Neighbor.
Yeah, because I'm like, I'm either like playing guitar up on the porch, or I'm like in my garden down there gardening, doing stuff.
Yeah.
And people just like come talk to me. Like sometimes I don't want to talk, but sometimes I do, and it's fine. Yeah, it's so weird to call yourself a hipster because I don't think of myself as a hipster, but people call me a hipster.
What do you how do you define hipster anymore?
Yeah, it's such a stupid fucking word.
I used to see a chart. I remember seeing a chart a long time ago on the thing. There was a thing called the internet, and I saw it on there. it was basically a chart that explained that hipster was just relative to everybody else. So then there'd be like a person in a leather jacket and jeans with a motorcycle, and that was a hipster according to the person in the like wool sweater with the frizzy hair and the beard. But he was a hipster according to the person in chucks and a pink t-shirt and a mohawk. Like everybody's a hipster to somebody else.
Oh yeah, I mean it's all recycled. That's what people don't fucking get, is this shit is so overly recycled. I mean, the word hipster comes from hippies, right? And I was like, and hippies come from beatniks. I mean, nothing is original. Like, don't lie to no one should lie to themselves. Like,
try not
nothing. To. Yeah, nothing is original. Everything is just rehashed, and you're just picking interesting pieces and putting them together.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That is that is creativity, though. I mean, you know, I'm sure there's some really interesting original things out there somewhere, but like most of what we're doing is kind of rehashed, and that's every part of culture. Yeah. You know. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
I mean,
not at all. It's a beef
because maybe somebody has a interesting idea, but they're not really cool at conveying it, and somebody else sees it, copies it, reiterates it, and makes it actually fucking wild. You know, nothing wrong. It's improving. Yep. So I mean,
the context in which a thing can be, you know, can change it entirely.
I mean, you look at the guitar. It's just that, like, first off, the guitar is just an amazing, interesting instrument because you can do so much with it. Yeah. I mean, just the way that somebody like me, or you can pick it up and make it sound so wildly different just playing the same chords, you know? And then like the way I play is I'm playing these rolls, which are, you know, rolls are normally associated with like a banjo.
Yep.
And then I am just like listening to other people. Like some of my inspirations are like Iron and Wine. You know, I remember when I first started playing guitar, I tried to learn how to play Naked As We Come. Or is it Naked As We Came?
Naked As We Came, yeah.
Yeah. And I could not play that shit at all. And then like 3 years later, I revisited it, and I had shot straight the fuck over it. I was like, I was like, well, this is pretty cool. Wow.
Pretty clear sign of growth.
Yeah. But like, I watched, like, I learned from that stuff though. And like, you know, without even meaning to, I definitely took stuff that he did in his songs and like kind of incorporated it into some of my songs, but made it different, you know. It's not like a one-to-one replication. Yeah. But or like one of the people that I love listening to is Townes Van Zandt, you know, and his song Lungs, it's got some sweet ass slides in it, and I try to do that in some of my songs, but I don't feel like I'm like directly copying, you know. Right. I'm just iterating,
learning.
Yeah,
being you know, affected by other people's progress. Like there's nothing. People do get hung up on that, especially in music. Like everything has to be me. It's all about my accomplishment. But it's like, dude, this has been going on for centuries. Like we've been fucking with music for a very long time. It's not gonna reach its peak with whatever you come up with just now. Like we're all in this together and we're having fun with it, you know.
And I would say the lower you get on the totem pole with music, the more original you get, because when you get to like super famous people, they have, I don't know if, I assume most people realize this, but there are people that don't. Like when you get to the super famous, like top tier people, they have teams of like dozens to hundreds of people behind them making those songs sound good. Like there's nothing original about them. They are literally designed to connect with your brain. Yeah. You know, like absolutely. Yeah. And I mean that's fine. But there's, you know,
I think it's really interesting what you point out. That's exactly right. It's like in the hierarchy of success, it isn't the most successful or the most like broadly appealing stuff is not the most original or unique. Absolutely it is the most not. It's like the Walmart of music. It has what appeals to the most people to try to capitalize on it from the most people. Like that's what it's designed for.
And I want to be clear, that's not like a criticism.
Or it's not a moral statement.
Yeah, it's I there is a place for all of this stuff, and not everyone is involved with music as I am, and that's fine. Like people, the vast majority of people don't want to listen to like original music or like like different music. They want to listen to music to have a good time and relax, and fuck yeah, more power to them. Yeah. You know, that's great, because that's what music means to them, and you can't rob people of that. There's nothing wrong with feeling that way. Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah. Like who am I, or who are you to judge someone for what they enjoy? You know? I remember when I was younger, I used to like think that I knew things and be like, "Oh, this person's stupid." This is stupid. But the reason I came to this, like, I bartended for a long time, right? Yeah. And you get people that order the most disgusting drinks, or like try to look really flashy, and it's like I remember one time I was bartending, somebody ordered a top shelf LIT. That shit doesn't exist. It's stupid. Like it'd be like a $30 drink, you know? And we're talking Winston-Salem prices. We're not talking like New York City where $30 is reasonable. And it's just that eventually I'm just like, well, more power to them. You know, it's like this person is spending their money to get whatever the hell they want. And I remember specifically the drink that broke me on this, that made me just be like, you know what? Fuck yeah. This person's enjoying it. I had somebody order Corona with grenadine in it.
Huh.
Yeah. And once I was done being repulsed, I was like, all right, fuck yeah. That person is smiling, drinking that.
Yeah.
and then I realized, I was like, there's so much shit that I consume, food and drink and, art, that other people would be repulsed by. I think that is like, and all of a sudden I just realized, who the fuck am I to like have any opinion on what anyone does with themselves or, and once I came to that, my life got a lot better.
Peaceful life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird to be like at war with people's tastes.
Yeah,
it's just not a necessary war.
It's so unnecessary. It is so unnecessary. Let people enjoy what they want to enjoy, because you have no fucking right to have an opinion on somebody else's tastes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, really.
Yeah. It's
like, are you gonna get mad at someone for not liking pickles?
Yeah.
Like, it's literally a taste, a different development of taste, and it's even more subjective than that within the art and within music and stuff. It's just like, it doesn't make a difference. No one has to like the same shit.
If you're dating someone who likes pickles, you might have a right to have an opinion on it. If you don't like the taste of pickles and then you have to kiss somebody that likes I've never run into this. I just want to be clear. I don't have this issue, but I can assume that would be one of the few times. I mean,
it might make a difference.
Sorry to, I didn't mean to torpedo you there, but like,
no, that's pretty valuable. I mean, in that vein, well, that's interesting. I guess relationships change the whole equation.
Yeah, if you have to spend a lot of time with someone.
If you go on a road trip with someone and they want to like listen to a music that you hate, then you might be at war. So I guess that's where it starts to get a little froggy.
With traveling with people and being in close proximity to people for quite a while, I have a coworker that loves listening to German pop music, and more power to them. But then I don't have to deal with it anymore because I don't work on the floor anymore at the place I work at. But they still do. But when I used to work on the floor, I would have to listen to German pop music for 6 hours straight.
Yeah. I'll bet that.
And so I guess what the point I'm trying to make is that while I'm not judging them for their tastes, the fact that I might not have to I shouldn't have to deal with it, which I think is a pretty big critique of the larger American culture wars,
Yeah, for sure.
So
you mentioned where you work, and I was wondering, should we leave work? Should we leave like the name of where you work out or anything?
Oh, they wouldn't care.
Okay.
Yeah, I work at Camino Bakery. I'm the coffee director for Camino Bakery, which means I actually think I'm the only person in Winston-Salem with that job title, by the way.
Yeah.
It is. So I am essentially like people really don't understand what I do. The best I can explain to people is that I'm like a coffee sommelier.
Okay.
So I train all of the baristas, but I also know I know a ton of different ways to brew coffee, but I know like the science behind it. And when I say brewing coffee, I can look at somebody's equipment and tell them the optimal way to brew it with the equipment they have. But I also we're talking pour overs, AeroPresses, if you know what a pour over is, I know dozens of different ways to do a pour over. I can look at coffee beans and look at the roast level and give you idea of the optimal ratio to brew that. So the input of coffee to water, and then we would have it, and then I would see oh, we should change this to bring out this flavor. I could go, this could be its own podcast.
Yeah, it really probably should be.
Yeah.
How did you learn all this?
So when I was working at the garage, right?
Yeah.
when my mom passed away, I managed to continue to work at the garage for a couple of months. But as anyone who's worked in a music venue knows, it is fucking stressful. It is chaotic and not good for someone who's going through an absolutely life-changing grief-induced event.
Yeah.
Inducing. And so I left. I actually had just graduated from Forsyth Tech because I had gone back to school and I was planning on transferring. And so I was going through all that. I just finished school and I got a job at Camino at the time I thought was an interim thing. But once I realized how cool, to me, I don't expect anyone else to appreciate it the way I do, but I love specialty coffee because there's a lot of science behind it. It's like a rabbit hole. For me, there's an ethical foundation for it. Depending on who you're working with, you can ensure that the producers of coffee are getting paid a fair amount for what they produce. And so we get our coffee from a roaster called Counterculture out of Durham, and they have what's called the transparency report, and they're the industry leader on showing like what they're paying for their coffee through the entire supply chain.
Paying like where it comes. Like,
Yeah. And
gotcha,
so
gotcha.
the supply chain is fairly complex, but a lot of people, you'll never know how much the people who actually grew the coffee get paid. And depending on where it's from, it can be nothing. There are, in the coffee industry, especially in places like Brazil, there is active slave labor. And it some of the nationwide chains have been caught using slave labor. I honestly don't think that they realized it was happening. Those supply chains for them are so big that it's like, but that doesn't absolve it.
Yeah.
And so like a perfect example is Peruvian coffees are coming out right now, single origins. And so a single origin in specialty coffee would be like it'd be like 5 to 10 square miles of where the coffee's from, because coffee is much like wine, where the terroir of it affects the flavors of it. And so specialty coffee is roasted lighter, so you can actually taste that stuff. The reason that old school coffee is really dark is to burn all of the intrinsic flavors out, so it has a uniform flavor. And so especially coffee, and the way that coffee, so the supply chain is developed nowadays, we can get really cool coffees. This is like the surface I'm touching on. It is a very intense industry, and it goes very high. There are lots of coffee that go for tens of thousands of dollars, for like a 50-pound bag.
Really?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Because it's just so highly sought after. But what's cool about it is you can, like the Peruvian coffees are out right now. And at Camino, we have a coffee that is sold by Counterculture, and it's a single farmer lot. So all the beans are from this guy's farm. His name is Damian Espinoza, and he's from northern Peru. I went to a talk from the exporters for this coffee and was able to hear, and these people know him personally, and because of his contract with this company and this company's contract with Counterculture, this guy's income like doubled or tripled. And he was making, I think it was like 50 soles a month. That comes out to about $20 for his family of like 8. And so he went up from like making $20 to like making 60, which is a huge impact from where he lives. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but like to go back to where I was starting off at, working in specialty coffee, if you know where you're working and who you're working with, you can have a very strong ethical foundation in what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to me. I know that I'm helping. So I know it's a small thing, but like helping these developing communities, bring money in, and I like that.
Yeah,
and
especially not hurting them in the industry that could hurt
yes,
them.
because these people get taken advantage of very easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with like, yeah, it's so easy. They'll lose crop. It takes 5 years for a coffee plant to start producing fruit, and there's a lot of pests. Coffee is susceptible to a lot of diseases and pests because most of the coffee plants in the world come from a handful of coffee plants that were smuggled out of Yemen by Jesuit priests to the island of Java. That's where
Really?
Yes, that's why it's called Java.
Holy shit.
The island was named Java beforehand, but that's why you'll hear coffee called Java.
Yeah.
Yeah. Catholics.
That's epic.
Yeah, and so the Ottoman Empire had the lockdown on the coffee trade for the longest time, and that's why the Jesuit priests were trying so hard. They tried so many times to get it out of there, and it finally took root. So the coffee plant is susceptible because there's not a lot of genetic diversity in it. Coffee is from Ethiopia.
I see.
Mm-hmm. And before I go on, I'll stop talking about coffee. But
I'm digging this.
Yeah,
this is so interesting to me.
But just so we're aware, coffee is fucked. The global warming or climate change, most coffee is grown around, all coffee is grown around the equator because it needs a very consistent temperature year round to not die. It cannot handle cold weather. And the equator is the first region. The regions around the equator are going to be the ones that are primarily hit by climate change first. And so we won't be able to have coffee.
In what? In how long?
I mean, I won't even fathom a guess there because I don't want to put any dangerous half truths out there that, I don't want somebody to. But I've heard different ranges, but it'll probably be decades. But decades being it could be 10, could be 20, 30. But coffee is going to be one of the first major items to go. And that's terrifying for a lot of reasons because coffee is the third most traded commodity on the planet. Think about how many people will lose their livelihoods.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't imagine how many billions are spent around the world on coffee every year. And the supply chains that you're talking about, if all of how many people must be involved in that industry?
You can't harvest coffee. Well, you mostly cannot harvest coffee with a machine. Yeah, it's all picked by hand.
Huh.
So many people depend on the coffee for their livelihood. It's a unfathomable amount of people. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
I've had a lot of friends work in coffee and talk about the industry of coffee, and I don't think I've ever even tried to comprehend how vast of an industry that must be.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we work down, we go to coffee shops, stuff like that, and so we see all this fancy bougie specialty coffee stuff, but think about Folgers and all these other coffee places. Millions of people work in just farming it across the planet. It's just it's so brutal to think. And hopefully we do something about it. So, but to take a couple of steps back, I love to, when I find something I enjoy doing, I love to throw like I said to you earlier before we started recording, I throw myself into things. And I found once I scratched the surface of specialty coffee, I realized that I really, really loved it. And I threw myself into it. And there's always going to be somebody better than you. No matter what you do. Unless you're Usain Bolt. Or Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
I think statistically, Wayne Gretzky is like the most successful athlete of all time.
Really?
Yes. Huh. Yeah, like even if you took like half of his like points away, he's still the number one. Like it's crazy.
Really?
Yeah, but
like how the ratios compare.
Yeah,
in other
just
sports
like even if you like mix up the statistics a little bit and take away some of the stuff, he's still number one. It's crazy. Anyways, I don't know enough about that to go into it too deep, but yeah, so I throw myself in and get into it, you know. Same thing with the guitar.
Random curiosity, but what is like what's your coffee setup at your house? Like what is your deal?
Okay. Well, like I said, there's different ways to brew coffee. Currently I have a fourth generation AeroPress, which it doesn't really matter what generation it is. It just means that it uses recycled plastics. I have a origami dripper. It's produced in Japan. It's a ceramic dripper. I have a Fellow EKG kettle. So it's got like a variable temperature control and hold. And then I like to use Hario 02 paper filters, bleached, not the unbleached ones. And my grinder, because I just brew coffee at home, I don't try to even play with espresso because I have insane amounts of espresso equipment at work. I can do whatever I want with. I just use Baratza Encore.
Yeah.
Which if you
of course.
Yeah, Baratza. Of course.
I don't know why.
If you worked in the coffee industry, that would literally be your response. You see how it didn't even faze me?
Yeah.
Of course. Because the Baratza Encore is the best entry level grinder. Not even entry level. Like no one needs something fancier than that if they're just grinding coffee at home. So, and my scale, this is something that most people don't have at home, but they should if they want to do specialty coffee. You have to have a scale because you don't do coffee by volume. You do it by weight. You're trying to do you want to be able to replicate your results like in the empirical method. And so you have ratios and the inputs most coffee is brewed between a 1 to 16 or 1 to 18 ratio. And so it's 1 part coffee to 16 parts water. And so you have to have a scale to do that, but you also have a window of time that you want to brew it because there's an optimal extraction rate for coffee, and which is 22%. And that is not the total dissolved solids. And so you have to, and so I have a Brewista scale, which is my favorite. Most people in the industry, if you get a fancy scale, you get the Akaya Pearl, but I think those things are hot garbage. They have the worst fucking UI on the planet. So come at me. There's no buttons on it. There's no tactile or response to it, and they break really easily. So
man, I when I hear people approach things this way, to this level of detail and this fine of an understanding of stuff, I honestly envy it. And I meet a lot of people like this, and it's people find their calling all over the place. I do a lot of AV tech right now, and the guy I work with alongside is that in that world. And it's and those people are all over the place, people specialized for things. And I tend to not, I don't know if it's the interest or discipline for that fine of a specialized investment of time into a particular field or something. But when you talk about this, I just I borrow the excitement for it. I don't know all this shit, but I love hearing somebody just be so specialized about a topic.
Yeah.
It's fun.
To me, it's just really easy to remember, and I love sharing it with people, especially if, I don't know if this is a developed skill from my years in the service industry, but pretty good at reading people and telling if they're genuinely interested or at least hearing what you're saying. And so if somebody's listening to me, I will talk about this for so long and really engage with them. I've heard from my coworkers when I'm training baristas, one of the things that is commonly said is that my enthusiasm and excitement kind of gets painted onto the people, and they're like, oh, this is cool, you know. But I absolutely I totally get it if someone doesn't share my enthusiasm for them. My main focus with coffee, besides the ethical foundation, is being inclusive. You see a lot of competition in the coffee industry. There's like, the World Coffee Championships and stuff like that. They have one for the roasting, they have one for baristas, and then they have one for latte art. Doing latte art's super impressive, and like obviously I think it's, but there's like being someone who can like knows the science in brewing coffee is a separate thing, and a lot of people don't realize that. Yeah, like being, just because you see somebody who can do really good latte art doesn't mean they're a good barista, by the way. And most of the time when you see some latte art online, it means like that to be able to do the latte art like that means you kind of fucked up that drink. It's not servable.
Cool. Good to know.
But that is like an intense skill, and it means a lot. It just doesn't necessarily like transfer into, and roasting is its own science, and that's I can't even handle that. I think it's just so much fun to share things with people. Like I said earlier, like,
oh, you were going to say about competition.
So sorry, I went on tangent. The competition, like, I think competition's fun, but like not everything has to be a competition. Yeah. And so there's like, especially with a market like Winston-Salem, a lot of people don't know what specialty coffee is. And we have other people doing it now, but Camino really was like one of the first people doing it and introducing people to it. And so one of my main focuses has always been inclusivity and being able to like not gatekeep with it, and not be like super pretentious about it, and show people why tasting notes are tasting notes and how anyone can learn them. Yeah. And like, it's like tasting notes, it's about having the vocabulary to explain what you're tasting. It's not, it's like same thing with wine. The reason that these people know what the wine tastes like is they've worked hard to develop the palate, like by drinking a lot of wine and not getting hammered, but drinking it, and also teaching themselves the vocabulary of what they're tasting. Like they know exactly what a mandarin orange tastes like, or they know what paraffin tastes like, or stuff like that, like almond paste. There's a bunch of crazy tasting notes. Like what you are tasting, no one can tell you're wrong. And so like, one of the cool things about doing coffee is you go to these coffee tastings where it's called a cupping, and they not so much since COVID, but like they have these cups out, and you go through different stages, and you smell the ground coffee or like the brewed coffee, and no one talks why it's happening until after each stage, and then you share your notes like, oh, this is what I smelled. And that's how they get the stuff on the bag. It's not from drinking it, it's mostly from smell.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. I'll have you over to Camino sometime. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about.
I would love that. Yeah
But so a lot of that stuff can be intimidating for people. And so I try to be able to explain what it's about really quickly, concisely, and in a welcoming fashion. So, because usually it's like you're across the counter from someone and you get like maybe these old people from the country in there, and they're like, oh, this is what I like. And they're like, well, here, let me show you this other stuff. And it's okay if they don't like it, but at least you took the time to show them. And, or like you can direct them to a different thing. Like, I just want to be able to share these things, because at the end of the day, the more of some of this coffee I can sell, the more I'm helping some of these developing communities.
Yeah, it's a nice back and forth. Well, I mean, I think the spirit under what you're talking about is, I think, the best part of a city environment. And I've like kind of I hate to admit that I've taken some opportunities to like, I don't hate to admit it, whatever. I have some criticisms, I suppose, of patterns in communities. Just like I could sit here and bitch a little bit about the major patterns I see north of us in King or somewhere.
Kang?
I mean, up in Kang. I bitch about Winston sometimes too, but the stuff that you're talking about, the craft and artisan places, the attention to quality and detail and stuff, that's what I love most about the downtown community and the things that are available down there and all the crafters that are in. Like I just went to I cannot remember Broad Branch. Jesus. I just went to Broad Branch for the first time and like tasted their stuff, and that was just so superior to like other whiskeys and other bourbons that I've had, you know, stuff like the coffee that we have in town, the beers, the craft beers and stuff, and getting explained like all the different things that people try with those and the innovative stuff they come up with.
Yeah.
Same as art, same as pizza, like same like Mission Pizza or whatever.
Oh
like,
yeah, Peyton, Mission Pizza. I respect Peyton so much because he doesn't give a fuck. He respects his craft. Yeah. And now, I mean, obviously, he is a divisive person because of his interactions with customers, but I respect him for it. Anyone who's worked in the service industry respects him for it. Yeah. Because people are awful, and most normal people who haven't worked in it don't really see how just the entitlement of people. Oh yeah. But like a great, if anyone wants to check out a different coffee shop that I think is amazing besides Camino, Say So Coffee.
Yeah, I just went there.
Yeah, Kylan down at the Public House, dude knows what he's doing. Yeah. And Anchor Coffee just opened up in Bailey Park. Derek Smith is the GM. That dude knows way more than I ever will. Both of them are super talented. If you guys like, variety is the spice of life, you know. Respect where it's due. And you know, what's also cool about going to different coffee shops is they have different roasters, and so the way that the roasters choose to express their coffee is different than others. Like Kylan uses Say So. At Say So, he uses black and white coffee out of Wake Forest, the town. And Black and White's super cool, and they've got a lot of interesting stuff, and they're on the leading edge of some really fascinating things. And I'm not going to go into it because I'll go on a tangent again. But like, the roasters are able to find ways to express the flavor of these coffees themselves, and it's just super fascinating. And then you get the barista who gets this coffee and they choose how to express it, because like, I can change the flavor of a coffee by how I'm brewing it. Especially if I'm doing like a pour over or espresso. And it's pretty wild when you actually have a like knowledgeable person doing this for you, because 99.99% of people have never had that experience where a skilled barista will make slight changes and show you how it affects the flavor. Those tasting notes, like, you can hone in on them instead of it just like tasting like you know, people think of espresso as being super strong and like, oh, unbearable, but it doesn't have to be that way, and a skilled barista can make it not taste like that. But it takes a considerable amount of effort and skill to do it that way. But also, that's where the artisan nature comes in. There's a scientific background to doing that, but but say somebody like Kylan at Say So, the dude knows what he's fucking doing, and he can take the coffee from Black and White and just dial that shit in, and it tastes amazing. And like, he'll get like a natural sun dried from Africa that's been with the anaerobic process. The process is how you get the coffee bean out of the cherry. And he'll just make that thing taste so good. And they have different equipment there than we have at Camino. And just like watching that, how they utilize their equipment to do it is cool. You know, they've got a Slayer espresso machine. I think they use a EK43 grinder for their espresso grinder. It's just fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I dig that.
So
I guess the only other curiosity I had about coffee was just like, if you have anything to say, like what your preference might be as far as like understanding what people are doing with like specialty drinks, like where they might come up with a concoction, like a coffee cocktail versus, you know, a cappuccino or a latte or an espresso. Like, what is your preferred sort of like way to enjoy coffee?
I drink black coffee generally, and like, I mean, preferred, I always just do a pour over, but if I'm going to get something with steamed milk in it, I get a cortado, which is so espresso drinks are also based off ratios. That's why you can't get a 20-ounce cappuccino. A cappuccino is like a 1 part espresso, brewed espresso to 2 parts steamed milk. And it also has
That was so cute.
This dog is so full of shit.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I see you. Hold on. So cortado is equal parts, and it's like a thinly steamed milk. So cortados are really hard to make too properly. I mean, somebody will make one and they'll be like, "Oh, this is cortado," and you'll be like, "Okay, whatever." But an actual like really good cortado is so hard to make because you have to steam. You create what's called microfoam. And microfoam, you can't see the bubbles in microfoam. And so that means like it's been aerated all the way equally through the milk. And so, but to do cortado, you're supposed to have it like silky. And so like a cappuccino is much easier to do. And so not only is it a skill thing, but it's also like super good because there are the cortado being an equal part ratio with the espresso, it doesn't dominate the flavor of the espresso. It only serves to complement it. And so there's naturally occurring sugars in milk, especially after you steam it. It breaks certain molecule bonds that makes it actually just a little bit sweeter. And so it accentuates the flavor of the espresso. And if you're drinking really well dialed in espresso, it tastes fucking amazing. So,
yeah.
And so if I was just getting a drink, those are the two I'd prefer, or just straight espresso. Like if I was going to say so, I would get a cortado or a pour over.
Nice.
Because I know I'm going to get a quality one over there. Now coming up with like specialty drinks, that's a completely different ball game. Like, there's just different things to do with it. I just finished the Camino. I'm the one who comes up with Camino's seasonal menu.
Oh,
obviously.
really?
Yeah, because I'm the coffee director. That's what I do. I like to use like bitters in it. We have a cherry cappuccino coming out, so it's like bitters and this cherry syrup that me and the kitchen manager came up with. It's not mind blowing, but it's pretty good. You just kind of. This isn't one of those iteration things. Yeah. I mean, like, I'll definitely look around and see, not locally, but I never try to steal people's drinks locally or anything.
Yeah.
I've seen people steal ours, though. It's fine. When you're on top, you're
Yep. Never mind. There's a quote like that. It's like anyway, I can't remember it, but you're right.
Yeah. There's just cool stuff, and it's an endless amount of creativity that comes into it. Like, one of the coolest things I've seen is, I'll never remember why I'm here, but there was a cortado with sweetened condensed milk and cracked pepper in it. And it was I made it for myself one time, and it was so fucking good. And I tried to copy it. I failed so hard though. I have to think of like brewing, like how to make a drink at 3 different locations, 4 now, because we have the Wake Forest library location.
Yeah.
They all have different equipment and like different skill sets with the baristas, and so I have to like think about reasonable ways that I can make something. Yeah, if I had a shop with 6 people on it, it would be a completely different game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be able to do like some real fancy shit. But that's just, you deal with what you have. And I love Camino, and Camino is a great business, and like I'm so privileged and lucky to work there, and I do my best with what we have there.
Yeah.
So, because Camino is straight grassroots. Like Camino has never gotten any outside capital. Everything that is at Camino is because of the owners there and how much hard work they've gotten into it. No one's getting rich at Camino. Carrie Clifford, who started it, is one of the most upstanding people I've ever met, and to the day I die, she'll be one of my number one inspirations. But there's 3 other owners at Camino, and they're all super amazing. So, but Carrie's one that started it. And so like, because there's like not outside cash coming in, like a lot of places it's pretty obvious that they had like big bank roller, like a lot of people invested. When I go into a shop and I see really, really nice equipment and everything's like pristine looking, I'm like, man, this is gonna fucking suck. Because generally it's some rich person, or like it's just like, now that's a mixed bag. I shouldn't have said that really, but like a lot of times when you see some really fancy equipment, they don't know how to use it.
Yeah.
Or like use it effectively.
Yeah.
Because,
I mean,
it's just some rich person.
I think that's a lot of other stuff too. That's a lot of other fields too. Like if I don't know, I'm not that surprised, I guess. It's not always, because, like really great guitarist or some shit might have a really nice rig, but I'm not that shocked if I see somebody who seems to like put more, their attention seems to be much more on their presentation than on their quality.
Yeah.
And then like they have some beautiful Strat or something and some orange amp, and their hair is like really like spot on.
Oh, I saw those at the garage.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's how it goes sometimes. Some people just invest in the appearance more so than the craft.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man, when I was at the garage, some of those people had their merch game was so tight.
Yeah.
Too bad it wasn't tight on stage.
Do you ever miss the garage days?
I do. I miss working with Tucker.
Yeah.
Tucker was a stand-up dude. I enjoyed working with Tucker a lot. I do. I miss it, but the thing is, those last couple of months, I was so fucked up in my head that it's hard not to see it as a nightmare now. And it's not because the garage was an actual nightmare or anything. It's because it warped my perception. And I don't know if I can handle an environment like that anymore. Yeah. And so and I'm too much of an adult and reasonable person now to not let that be like how I view it. Yeah. Yeah. Like I just can't imagine going back into a situation like that. Like I'll never bartend anywhere again. Yeah. And I just don't like bartending. Like I barely drink. And if you don't drink and you bartend, drunk people come way more obnoxious. Yeah. What? Don't cut me off. Why you cut me off? God.
Yeah. God. Yeah, I mean, if they're not the people you associate with the money you're leaving with, what is the fucking point of having to deal with all that?
I will tell you, though, the one thing I do miss about the garage is telling people to fuck off.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I could do whatever I want at the garage, and you get these fucking assholes come in there, and they'd be like, I remember this one time, it's one of my favorite memories of the garage. This guy came up to the bar, and he was tapping on the bar. He was like tapping on the bar, and I was helping the people at the bar that were there before him, and he kept tapping, and I fucking turned around. I'm like, listen, asshole, I fucking see ya. I'm gonna help these people, and then I'll fucking get to you. Tap again, and I'm gonna kick you the fuck out.
No more tapping.
No more tapping.
Yeah, I remember once. I mean, at a big show, I think it was one of my CD releases. It might not have been. It might have just been a regular show. I can't remember, but I remember I remember seeing some people. I think I was like walking out of sound check, and I was probably going to get a coffee or something. And I saw some people, and they were like, "Hey, and they knew me from King, and I like felt bad about it after the fact. I guess it wasn't on me. It was just like I saw that it was unfortunate, but they saw me. They were like, "Hell yeah, we're going to your fucking show, woo!" And it was like 4 people, rednecks. I was like, "Cool." They knew me from somewhere. I disappeared. I came back, and Tucker was like, "Man, you really bring out all them like redneck assholes." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Some motherfuckers came in here, and he was like, some people came in here, and as soon as I like opened the door, they were like, 'When's this place fucking open? Why don't y'all run this place like a real business or something?'" And I was like, "Oh shit!" And he was like,
"Man, I know Tucker, and that shit'll set Tucker off. Anyone questions his like business, how he runs that place, that's like 0 to 1,000,000 for him."
I mean, they got kicked out before before doors even opened. He was like, "Yeah, y'all get the fuck out of here," or whatever. And yeah, there was no fuck. I mean, I kind of missed that edge of the garage.
Yeah, I'm a crazy person. I loved jacking people up and trying to throw them out. Yeah, I'm a small dude, but the redneck comes out in me. I can't stop it. me and Michael Schmidt, the guy, I think he works at the Ramcat now too. Me and him would always just like jack people up. And last time I got punched in the face was at the garage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Nowadays I'll do anything to get out of any physical altercation, but I still had the zest in me when I was at the garage.
I mean, and y'all, like you were the dude that had to be responsible for that shit, You had to like kick people out if you had to.
Yeah. Nowadays though.
Yeah. It's not.
I'll be like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to step on your shoe. Please. I've got kids. Yeah.
Please, I'm sorry.
I'll do whatever it takes.
Please.
Yeah. Any future assailants, please. Oh. Oh man, I was telling this story the other day. This is so random. This has nothing to do with anything we've talked about. I was involved. I got robbed at gunpoint a couple of times in my life. It's happened more than once, but I was at work in my very first job was at a fast food delivery place. We delivered fried chicken, and these people came and robbed us like in the store.
Oh man.
And the guy who owned the store was like the most white bread person on the planet. And I just turned 19, and these people came in, and I was like, it's like a movie. You're just like, that's your immediate response.
Yeah.
And they were like, shh, and I was like this, and this dude can't come. This is where I got the voice from. This is what made me think about. This dude comes around the corner. The guy who owns it, the super white bread guy, comes around the corner, and he's like, "Oh God." That shit is imprinted into my brain for life. I will be on my deathbed, and I'll hear this guy yelling, "Oh God." Oh my God. I will never. Brett Bird, you're a saint.
Yeah, I really like the meekness in that voice.
Yeah.
Like it's such a real meekness. Like that's the tone you take when you're not going to put up a fight.
No. And none of. By the way, you got a gun on you. No one's putting up a fight. Whatever you think's going to happen is out the fucking window. No one's a tough guy. Yeah. Maybe if you have a gun on you and you walk into it happening, it'll happen. But I'm just telling you right now, it doesn't ever work out like that. Mm-hmm. It's happened to me a couple of times, and each time I was like, "Please don't kill me."
Like, where else has it happened to you?
I got robbed at gunpoint. And I guess they've renamed it now, the Carmike 10 on Renolda. Mm-hmm. I got robbed there when I was 16. Got robbed at that store when I was 19. And when I was 21, I had a giant fight at my house. Me and my friends affectionately call it Stab Fest 2007. And somebody had a gun there too.
Damn.
Yeah. No one got shot, but 4 people got stabbed.
Damn.
I don't know how this shit comes upon me.
Yeah.
I don't like go out looking for it.
Yeah, you seem like a pretty peaceful dude.
Yeah.
Kind of walk around doing your own thing.
I've never really gone my way to pick a fight except for one time. Yeah.
Yeah, those are some real experiences, man. Like, and you know what? Yeah, I've never had a gun pointed at me, and have not been around a stabbing.
Yeah.
So. So that's pretty intense.
Stabbing. Sorry, you got me.
Yeah. It's just that's a hardcore thing.
I've never been around a stabbing. What a way to phrase it. I love it.
It's also interesting. My dad, as you got here today,
Yeah.
my dad and his buddy were here.
Yeah.
They were telling me stories about some of the horrible things that they've seen. And like, it reminds me sometimes when I hear these stories that life is incredibly horrifying, and a lot of shit like that happens, you know. But so I'm almost surprised that I haven't run into more like crazy circumstances like that when I hear the stories people have from their life.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen a lot of terrible shit, and I wish I could unsee it. And so I whenever I talk about some of this stuff, I always, you know, your experiences define you though. And like, would I go back and forth, like, would I do some of this stuff or like want to experience this stuff? And sometimes I'm like, no, I wouldn't. Like, I don't want to know that people are like this. But, and I think the vast majority of people are good. Society would break down if people weren't good.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's insane to think that people are bad. Like, people choose to be bad and people make bad decisions. And then there are just some cruel people that are broken. And so that being said, would I not have wanted to get robbed at gunpoint or seen some of the really awful stuff? Here's a perfect example. When my mom was dying, I had family members steal shit out of her house. Really? Yeah. While she was laying in her bed dying.
Jesus
At the
Christ.
hospital. Yeah. You know, do I want to know that it's a thing? Or did that change me in some way and change how I go back and forth about that stuff. It's like, those experiences define me though. Like, it's hard, you know? Like, you know, I've dealt with a lot of pain and grief in my life, and would I change that? I don't know. How can you? Like, how would, I mean, obviously you can't, but like, how would it make any difference, or would it make me a completely different person?
Do you think, like, what comes to mind as you talk about that is like, you know, some people in, like, I think the psychology world too, like, and also people just in the literature world have a really strong belief that being blind to this stuff, like say you had some kind of cushy life and belief system that like was all about positivity, maybe that would make you, like, basically the idea is that like the light is only bright if you know how dark is. You know?
Oh yeah, chiaroscuro. That's the painting style where they accentuate the darkness and the light to bring the contrast in. Yeah, I absolutely believe that. Like, how can you know what beauty is if you don't know what ugliness is?
Yeah.
You know, you don't know what serenity is unless you know what turmoil is. You know, I think that's a natural order kind of thing. It's like, and that's the thing, like, grief isn't a contest. Like, pain isn't a contest. Like, yeah, I've seen some real awful shit, but like, it's not the pain I felt from that isn't worse than somebody else's thing that other people would be like, well, that's not as bad. You know, it's like we all remember our first big breakup when we were kids and how painful that was. Well, that's because that's the only pain we knew.
Yeah.
And like, yes, it can always get lower. You can always find new lows, but that doesn't mean that the pain you felt isn't as real. And so like we all feel those things, and we all know what pain and grief and joy and love is like, because even if I've felt these things, it's never taken away. It's just given me a greater appreciation for the things that bring me joy, like sharing flowers with people.
Yeah.
You know, or sharing my little tidbits of music. And, you know, it's really, there is something just so beautiful about playing guitar to someone and watching their eyes kind of light up, and they like are just overjoyed to hear you share it with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally feel that.
Yeah. I love it.
I think that's approaches the it might be the note to end on, I'm not sure, but I feel like that what you just said, just a true pure love for it is what I see with what you're doing with all that. I guess, yeah, we're I can't think of a better note to end on. I have other curiosities I'd love to indulge in, but I think I don't want to add anything to where we just got. So I think, and your dog, I think Tally wants to go outside.
Oh, she's so obnoxious.
So I think we could wrap the conversation here, unless you have anything else you want to talk about while we're at it.
No, it's good. Thanks for asking me to come on. I really appreciate it, and I'm humbled by it. I'm
really glad you did. It's great to just hear more of your story, and I'll be looking for more of those musical flowers, as well as I'll come by and check out your real ones too.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Can't wait to share. Cool.